Hey you guys, Spirit here. So many of you already know that I am in animation school, and this video is actually the final project for my digital marketing class. The prompt for this project was to describe the process of how I did a project within the time limit of 3 minutes. Admittedly, it was a bit hard to talk about the entire process of writing a book in that time frame, since I couldn't really go into too much detail, but I figured you guys might at least get a kick out of hearing it, and hopefully this will tide you over until I can work on something a bit more in-depth and proper. For those who want to get their hands on the book, the link is in the description below. This is the story of how I wrote and published my first book in 3 minutes or less. So, you want to write a book. Where do you even begin? Well, with like all projects, the book starts with an idea. Let's rewind back to 2016. I was listening to an independently published audiobook titled Dragon Queen, and for some reason, the idea of a dragon princess who could shapeshift just really stuck with me. It likely didn't help that the other author was also a teenager like myself, only about a year or two older than me, and so without much second thought, I began to work on my first draft. Now, coming up with the idea is the easy part, because you don't really come up with the idea to begin with. It just kind of hits you and your mind starts filling in the details automatically. But then I began to realize some of the difficulties of building this world from the ground up. For instance, the world took place in a setting where only animals lived, using magic in a realm of fantasy and wonder. There were deer, horses, bears, as well as magical creatures such as Pegasi and, well, dragons. But there was something missing. Something that caused the first major roadblock. I wrote through an entire 40,000 word manuscript first, going off of the first version. It was alright as an initial exploratory draft, but nothing worth publishing. I read other books, researched, and tried to find ways to improve my writing because I had an insatiable need to find a solution. It was then that it hit me. I realized that these characters were basically just humans, walking around in animal form, and while that certainly is fun, there's a lot of stories out there that already use anthropomorphized animals to speak their message. I needed a selling point, a unique aspect to make the project stand out, and this was the solution. So, I rewrote the entire thing from the ground up, with one core feature in mind. The creatures in the story are humanoids who can transform into animal forms, including mystical ones like peritons, pegasi, and dragons. It was both a natural part of their lives, but also had more of a natural integration since it was magic. I'll spare you the gory details of writing and rewriting and hitting more creative walls than I can count, but after about 4 years of iteration and reiteration, the hardest aspect of it all finally hit. Editing. Editors for manuscripts are expensive, and for a college student working from home, $1,500 is a lot for what I was trying to do. So, how do you fund a book? Well, crowdfunding is usually the best way to go about it. For 2 months, I did weekly streams, taking commissions which directly went into the funding of the book. Thanks to a very generous audience, I was able to get the money, pay for an editor, and after several months of work, I managed to publish my first book to Amazon. So, moral of the story, stick to your guns, and when you finish it, you'll realize it was worthwhile. Thanks for listening.